towards harmony and global peace. And Maria will talk today about civil courage and non-violent conflict management. Welcome, Maria.
Can you hear me? Hello. Thank you for the introduction. So let me put it in the focus. Okay, great. So I'm Maria Kurkova, and you already met me during different lunches, breakfasts, and so. And thank you for coming to listen. And well, I just wanted to make a little bit more an introductory part why I decided to speak about civil courage and non-profit violence management. Actually, I'm active with several NGOs around the world. I'm living currently in Germany, and I'm working with Services International. It's a quite a big NGO and has branches in many countries, I'm sure in yours as well, so you can check it out. And also with Austrian organization, Bratislava, we have several projects together. And I was like, my research interests, they were influenced a lot by Gandhi's philosophy of ahimsa, which I got introduced to while living in India for quite a long time, and that caught my attention. And I also did a fellowship in Thailand by Peace Revolution, and all that brought me today here to speak about civil courage and non-violent conflict management. So, I will quickly show you the plan, which we will be going through during this 15 or 10 minutes of time that I have. Is it better? Yeah? Okay, cool. So first, I will introduce you to the concept of civil courage. Then we will go through self-development and consciousness and how to train your mind to be calm and sharp. And then I will be giving you some tips on handling verbal abuses and physical assaults. And questions and answers, of course. So I was recently speaking to a friend of mine. She's from Bangladesh. I was telling her I'm going to a European Peace Summit to speak about civil courage, and she was telling me what the hell is civil courage? I never heard that word combination. And I should tell you that as a term, civil courage exists mostly and is known mostly in German-speaking countries. But I'm sure you all already know what is it, and after I show you some videos, you will relate to the concept, to that content and what's behind of it. The videos are in German language, but in this case, the language really doesn't matter. So let's check if we can understand.
Das ist inzwischen sehr sogar für Sie eine Platz in der Business Class.
So yeah, that is one example of civil courage. There is another one.
Das heißt irgendwie Job schief noch.
Genau, du bist hier schon der kannst du Deutsch? Ah? Was schaffst du doch, ha? Was schaffst du jetzt hier? Ach, du Kerl, redest du?
Cool, right? I like it. So, one more. It's a bit like my words go away. So yeah, however small the deal, it all seems civil courageous. And the videos, they were made by Sarah, and has nothing in common clothing brand. It's a German and Austrian organization for Kurkova and anti-fascism area, which is basically youth and anti-racist work, which is one of the main organizations, one of the main players in Austria for civil courage and human rights work as a basis for civil courage. And yeah, I think you could all relate, right? Can you, the ones who could relate to the concept of the videos, raise the hand. Like if you could understand what civil courage is, like without it being given definition. Yeah, cool. Okay, but let's look at the one of the most famous definition of civil courage. Civil courage begins with perceiving, feeling responsible, and cultivating courageous actions. This means to have the courage to stand up for someone who is experiencing injustice, and includes the risk of one's own disadvantage and the possibility of acting contrary to the legal and social rules and tendencies. I would say that like no definitions which exist can be final or perfect, especially in social sciences. And I want here to mention my self-defense teacher, Martin Bacher, who he runs like a self-defense academy in Vienna and teaches women and youth and children. And he was like, his philosophy is really awesome. He was thinking like, your head is not for hitting people, not for bumping, your head is for thinking. And here, like with this, we come upon the topic of non-conflict violent management, non-violent conflict management. There is an impressive history behind the non-violent conflict management in different countries and like non-violent methods in movements for civil and political rights. For example, Gandhi's philosophy of ahimsa, like non-violence and disobedience against discrimination, or Nelson Mandela in South Africa, and like, yeah, he was for nearly 3 decades in prison for his actions, but still he's the face of anti-apartheid movement. Or like recent example of Malala Yousafzai, the Pakistani girl who had the courage to stand up and speak for the girls' rights for education, and she was wounded by Taliban. It's all amazing examples, but there are many, many more. Like we saw in the videos, like everyday examples which media doesn't cover. Media is mostly not interested in positive stuff, but it's another story. So it's actually a great challenge to react to some situation in a non-violent, in a calm way. And here where meditation can help us, like meditation teaches us to respond to a situation in a calm way. Like I would also relate to Anca's presentation, she was saying like response and reaction are quite different. Like response comes after your mind makes a decision. It's not like the purely reaction of your body. So, like every day, we can make a small commitment to act more lovingly and to think loving thoughts and to extend our compassion, which will give the mind more space for creativity, for being sharp, for finding the solutions even to the most difficult situations very quickly. And like I don't have to tell you all this, actually, that don't trust me, like check this by yourself. And it really works. And like the next topic, I will give you some tips on handling verbal abuse. Verbal violence is very common in our today life. Often people are being verbally assaulted because of their skin color, country of origin, or appearance. Like it can be anything. So here are the few strategies and possible options for action. First, it's ignore and stay calm. Like there is nothing more annoying to a person who is verbally attacking you than to be ignored. Or when you stay calm, and you stay like apparently unaffected by the provocation. That's the best way. Ask questions, because like when you ask questions, you take the position of the leader, and you don't have to give the counter argument. So it doesn't put you in a defensive position in which you are the one who has to bring the argument. Send kind messages. By repeating and summarizing the statements of those who loudly express their discontent, if you do it, they feel that their concerns are listened to, and it can make the situation de-escalate. Then answering self-confidently and standing above the situation, giving counter arguments with humor, it's another thing, like, because humor is a great weapon. So, then strengthens victims. For example, if you are not the one who is being verbally assaulted, but you want to step up for someone, then it's better not to concentrate on the attacker, but to encourage and consolidate the victim. And such positive attention actually will improve the situation by changing the negative energy into positive one. And yeah, well, another one is exaggerating the confirmation of a statement, which is like if a stupid statement is made, by confirming it and exaggerating it, causes the person who made the statement to reflect on it. And here's an example. Like the one guy is telling to another, oh, foreigners have to adapt to us. And then another is going, yeah, absolutely. But adapt to a person like me, not like a person, not a person like you. So it's like kind of tricky because the one who is verbally attacking him, he needs to think and reflect on the statement because it's quite complex, this is humor, so yeah. And the next part is like physical assault or physical harassment, which is like a more complex one, because here, first of all, you need to judge the possibility of the risk. And if it's like, it's up to you to decide, like if you want to step up to someone in the situation. But basically, any small step can make a change. Yeah, staying calm also helps because avoiding panic and hectic reactions helps to calm down the situation and actually, when you are calm, it influences the other people as well, the people around you. Then, get active and don't allow your fears to paralyze you. If a person witnesses an act of violence, it is important to show one's readiness to intervene according to one's capability. And simple self, a brief appeal, any reaction to it will change the situation and can motivate others as well to stand up for that person in danger. And do not, like running away or simply walking away. Sometimes withdrawal is a simple and quick step out of the danger zone, and sometimes it's the best solution. Don't be a victim. If attacked, it's advisable to act fearfully. It's not advisable to act fearfully and show submissive behavior. It's advisable to be strong, to show that you can withstand another power. Then talk and listen, to read the time, and to maybe ask others to help you. Show respect and don't threaten or insult, because like insulting remarks addressed to the attacker will only lead to an escalation of the situation. Get help and look for assistance. Well, yeah, that's I guess helpful. And show sense of humor, because as I told, every situation contains unintentionally comic elements which can be used in one's favor if pointed out. And the best way here is like to pretend that you are an actor, like don't be yourself. I mean, that's the best way to achieve is by deploying someone's acting skills. And humor helps to diffuse a conflict situation by interrupting its escalating dynamic. So then make use of element of surprise. It's called paradoxical interventions. It's like the example which you saw in the past. Like the girl started behind this attack, which was completely unexpected, and it interrupted the scene which was happening. And avoid body contact, because when coming to the aid of the victim of an attack, it's important not to touch the attacker unless they help them to outnumber the attackers. So yeah, these are the few tips, and of course, like we are all like grown up, and we have to see the situation, interpret it, and wait and react accordingly, which a sharp and calm mind can help us to find quickly solutions. And yeah, that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Maria, for useful tips. Do we have any questions from the audience? Okay, then I have one. I found it very interesting that you said be an actor, don't be yourself. Some people might start thinking that if I start acting in different situations, won't I actually lose myself? And later on, even maybe it will be different to differentiate between what is real and what is not. And is it me or is it an actor? Can't it be that later on you will lose your self, your identity? And maybe you could give some real example, which from your life, a person?
Well, I was referring like to a situation of danger. Like for example, if you think to step up for someone, like to help someone in a dangerous situation or not, like if you are not sure that you can always put on this mask of an actor, so you are like you are shy, or like you are thinking like, oh, maybe it will be not appropriate my like intervention in this conflict. So it's always, I think, good to see it from someone else's perspective, like being like acting like someone else.
Thank you. Any more questions? Yes.
Thank you. I would like to ask, how do you apply these tips in your work, or if you can say some example of how you applied it in the past?
Well, I work with NGOs and with youth, and sometimes like the verbal abuse that they happen. So like all these tips, they work for sure. And like if you stay calm in a situation when someone attacks you verbally, it's always more beneficial than to further attack someone. And I have many examples actually. They are also very personal. It's more like a day-to-day things. But like these videos that I showed you, it's not something which was made up. It's actually real situations, but just shot to be more visible for other people. But thank you for the question.
One more.
I was just wondering, how can we manage with people that avoid conflicts? Because we can deal with the conflict in a non-violent or violent way, but what about people that don't want to see the conflict or talk about the conflict?
You mean that people like who just close their eyes and like look away? Like, and again, I would like give you this example of the lady on the bus. There was one woman who sat near the window and she just looked away. She just didn't want to interfere, but it's all up to you. I mean, it's like individuals make the society. So if everyone is like this, then what is our society? So you have to have this courage, this civil courage to stand up for someone in this situation.
Yeah, but what's the point if they ignore what you are saying?
I mean, you can never, like, you can never force, of course, other people to stand up and follow your example. But, okay, everyone cannot do everything, but we all can do something. And if everyone does something, it leads already to some results. So if you can respond for yourself, like without regard to other people, it's already good. I think it's already a step forward. Like if you take responsibility for yourself and saying that yes, I will stand up for this person, it's already enough.
Thank you very much. We will have time for more questions and presentations. Thank you, Maria, once again. I think that the tips will be very useful, and maybe later on you can, if someone is interested, talk more about the practical implementation part. Now I would like to introduce you another speaker, Charu Uppal, who is a senior lecturer at Kacso University in Sweden. She has a PhD in media studies from Pennsylvania State University. Her research interests include the representation and formation of cultural identity in the developing world, in the global era, and the role of media and technology in mobilizing citizens towards political and cultural activism. And today she will talk about karma, consciousness, and media messages. Welcome.
Thanks, Carolina. As she said, my specialty is actually media. I added karma and consciousness to fit in this group. So I know less about that than I do about media, but I tried to make sense of something because karma and consciousness is something that I've been thinking about in context of media because I've been teaching for a while. I'm going to try my best if that makes sense. We'll start the video. Okay, so that's the part for the university I teach. We're starting a new program in digital media analysis this fall. But if you saw that, it's something, we're using media all the time. We're actually fish in the water, and we're the fish, and we eat the water, and we don't even notice it all the time. We don't know when we break away from it. How many of you, first thing in the morning, check your emails on your phone, right? Messages. So we're hardly ever disconnected. So I'm going to start with a little anecdote. Growing up in India, we have two epics, Ramayana and Mahabharata. Maybe you've heard of them. They're the longest poems. And Ramayana is both the stories of conflict, but Ramayana is a story of a man who is a king, who is the ideal king, marries and supports a society, quite a target society. And the Mahabharata is, they say, the biggest battle ever fought in India. When we were kids, we were told, you can read Mahabharata, you can learn from it. It's a very good book, but you don't read the book at home. Because it's extremely violent in many ways. It's very instructive, but you don't. Ramayana, on the other hand, is actually given as a gift to newly married couples. Because it tells you what is the best way to live, the most ideal, the most perfect way to live. When I go to India today, lived outside of India for a long time now, I'm surprised at the amount of soap operas they have, one after the other. There are no ads between soap operas, and the character of soap operas is conflict, one after the other. When television first started, they used to have limitations on how long the soap operas could be. 30 weeks, 40 weeks, at the most 52. The longest at that time was 104 weeks. Today, like we have it starting in the US, it can run for 5 years, 10 years, and then it just keeps increasing the conflict. When you think about playwriting, drama writing, the basic idea is that it has to be conflict for something to be a drama, right? Yeah, there has to be a conflict. What we're doing now is we're turning the television on and bringing that conflict in our lives every day. We do that when we go and watch violent films. We do that when we engage in anything. I would say video games. Sorry, I know a lot of people who will disagree, but all of that. We're actually bringing it into our lives. We don't question it. So I wanted to ask her, how do we question these things? What is the role that our consciousness plays, which is something that you've been talking about a lot in these two last days? So, Dharma traditions, Dharma tradition found in the Hinduism, Buddhism, Jainism, Sikhism, one of the basic concepts, the commonality there is the karma and the reincarnation that everybody's heard about. But that allows for a different kind of worldview. Everything is connected, it's one world, or it's frequency, and the sense of timing is also very different. The meaning of dharma is basically, it's not, because in English we translate it as religion, but it's not. It basically means something that supports, something that upholds, something without which a society cannot live, something without which nothing can stand. It is not limited to any religion, creed, or any form of worship. It is what supports. I am a teacher. To be the best teacher, which will include taking care of students, which will include developing my own self as a scholar, is my dharma. My dharma also includes, being a daughter, a sister, friend. All of that is dharma, and what is the best way to behave? That's dharma. One difference is that, of course, there's no deity, we say. Dharma principles. Now, I always find it fascinating when they show movies or ads of yoga and having serene music and you leave life out. That's not what Dharma is. Dharma has several principles. It allows, it accepts that we all want to have power, acquisition of wealth. And it's called Anca. Another meaning for the word Anca is actually meaning or wealth. Kama, I think everybody's familiar with that. Usually it means any sort of pleasure, desires. Okay? And then Buddhism and Hinduism and Jainism, Sikhism talk about it, nirvana, moksha, liberation. So the basic idea, where are we heading towards when we think about Dharma? The ultimate aim is liberation. You can accumulate wealth, you can enjoy the world, nothing wrong with it, but whether in this lifetime or future 5,000 lifetimes, liberation is the goal. Okay? Total freedom. Then religion becomes, because it's defined only as, okay, 5 minutes left, all right. Everything in the universe has dharma. This has a dharma, monkeys have dharma, plants have dharma, because religion is only for people. It's a big difference. Okay? I'm going to go a little fast. This is important. A non-religious society is ethical. You can have no religion, you can still have ethics. But dharma society is very important because ethical compass is very important. One example that I give is when they had mad cow disease, how it started was basically feeding cows, old cows, the cows that were killed and mixed with their fodder. You don't do that. Cows are not carnivorous. But why was it done? For profit. Okay, for profit or faxing the cows or not mixing the old cows or whatever. But you don't mess with the system of the universe. Okay? I'm going to go now. Very quickly. Consciousness. If anybody's read Joseph Campbell, he talks a lot about following your bliss. He gets that from this concept of dharma, which is Satchitananda. Our true nature is absolute pure bliss. So what you're doing with meditation, you're removing layers of ignorance. Very important. Okay, now I'll come to what I know. What are media messages driven by? They're driven by profit. They're driven by uniformity, mainstreaming. One of the things that I've seen myself in several countries, we live in a few countries, is how, look around us, we all dress in what we call Western way, which is considered appropriate. I remember in the US, one of my very good friends nicely asked me one day I was wearing an outfit, which I absolutely adore wearing, and she said, "Oh, nice, you're wearing this. Usually I see you in normal clothes." These are normal clothes, But she didn't mean any harm, because that's what you see, right? Uniformity, that's very effective with media. It actually tells you what is appropriate, what is fun. If you look at ads for Coca-Cola and Pepsi, usually what they're selling you is image and fun, okay? And that can be had by this one drink. And also appeals to the lowest common denominator. They know that people think at different levels. And if they make programming for the lower level thinking people, then you'll have more people coming in because the really high level thinking people might see it at some point, but more people are at that level. So their programs are not going to be they're not going to stimulate you to think that much. They also want to ensure audiences return. But then people will say, hey, listen, nowadays we have everything customized, so your messages don't work. But I don't think that has changed. It's still the same thing, even with personalization, their motives remain the same. How many applications do you have where they say, oh, this is going to help you stop using the internet, or stop purchasing, or, that's not the goal, because they're profit driven. One of the things that all the speakers before me have talked about is consciousness. Whatever happens will happen because you are conscious, because you're consciously choosing a certain media. Even when you're doing meditation, that's your choice, and your friend might not be choosing it. So that consciousness is very important, to be aware of that. And they also want to ensure that audiences return. Often, the scary part about all the other customized media that we use is that basically they're also gathering information about you. We know that, right? If you've done, and this is important, what is media? Media does not tell you what to think, but it tells you what to think about. Meaning, it's not telling you what is right, what is wrong. It is not telling you this is good for you, this is bad for you, but they're going to constantly bombard you with messages because you keep thinking about them, and some of these messages are. Okay. And they're repeated in most programs. So I'm going to just last two slides and I'll finish it. If you've done yoga and you've seen this, how does that relate? Because I've been thinking about this for the Teach Media, and I used it one time in my class actually. Most of the media messages are actually directed at your lower three chakras that deal with survival, sexuality, and power. Beyond that, you have to do something. Rom-coms are not going to take you to the level of heart chakra, right? But that's what they sell. Beyond all of that, that is you yourself. It can never go beyond that. It's just the nature of media. Media is a message. They are profit-driven. They are a business. They are not changing. Maybe you have revolution, and there will be people coming up with a new kind of media because the consciousness of the planet will be raised. But normally, they are just focusing all the messages on the three lower chakras. This is the last slide. I actually created this. I haven't published anything on this, but I use this in my classes. And correct me if you think I'm wrong here. I think if this is any society, any country, 70 to 75% of the people are just living, not thinking, not questioning, they're okay with their lives. I remember I taught a class called World Media Systems, and I asked them, if you are living in a country where you have to start a revolution and you don't have access to these kinds of media, what would you do? And I put them in different groups. And one group came up and said, that girl in that group does not want to contribute. And I asked her, she gave me one of the best lessons. She said, I am a married woman, because they all have to take their role plays, I'm a married woman, I've got 3 kids, my husband has a decent salary, I have no problem with the regime. I do not want to question this. There are people like that, and you actually get a lot of people. Media is a kind of a drug. A couple of years ago, I was in Spain, and I was surprised they were going through so many difficult times economically, but on their television, they would usually have, beauty pageants and talk shows, and not really talking about issues that could actually bring up civil courage or civil revolution. And I actually wrote a bias about it at some point. But 10 to 15% of the people in any country are actually thinking about something. Okay, I'm not satisfied and really question something. Still, again, they say because, life takes over, 5 to 10% of the people actually try to do something. And less than 5% of the people in any country actually devote their lives to it. And I hope you're those people. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Do you have any questions from the audience?
I have. I would like to thank you for that.
interested in your opinion about, let's say, the moral or ethical condition of the Europe as a civilization. Because now we could assume that we have a problem with that, and many, let's say, many countries are going back to nationalism to restore some kind of community based on moral issues, moral rules. And do you think that Europe could accept like dharma in any shape as some kind of moral core to restore it, rather than to going back to Christianity, which appears to be impossible for now? We're interested in that. Thank you.
I would have to write 5 PhD dissertations to answer that question. But it's a very good question. And I'm not in a place yet to openly talk about that. For many reasons. At the same time, I think from my experience, and I was in Europe at the same time now, I see a lot of people questioning many things. Okay? Organizations like this working. Can it go back? I think it would have to come from young people. It would have to come from new people, because a lot of the old ways of thinking are different. But keep in mind, the societies that I talked about are quite heavily influenced by the West. I think you guys should stand up and say, you know, we don't have all the answers. You'd be amazed that when I go back to India, there's this rush to be westernized and leave everything out. One of the things I talk about, and please, I don't mean to offend anybody, but I do want to talk about this. Every movie, and now it's started in India because I didn't grow up that way, the way to have fun is get drunk and be stupid. You don't realize that what they're doing is they're actually advertisements for alcohol industry. And they're using you people. And you follow it. You know? And guess what? It wasn't a big issue in Asia. In the last 15 years, it has become one. So it's not, I think maybe people like you need to stand up and correct it and tell them. I think that's how, I don't know, I can't talk to the authorities in that way, because I said I'm not at that place yet. But I think something needs to be changed. We are bombarded with messages and we accept them without questioning them most times. There is a theory in media study, by the way, it's called third person effect. And most of the time people say, my friend, she's so affected by media, not me. All of us are. All of us are. It's a mirror. All of us are.
Can I more?
Let me give the chance forward, please.
Okay.
And you can ask me.
Okay.
Thank you.
So it actually adds on what you have just mentioned. As a media professor, what do you feel responsible to teach your students?
You know what? 2 things. First of all, in many classes, I start my class with 5 minutes silence, and I have an adorable Spanish student who's Charu. We just know different from the guys. You know, but I said, no, let's do it. And it's good because then sometimes they will come back and say, oh, you forgot me to get our 5 minutes silence. So that's what I started. The other thing, I think Coca-Cola will kill me, I tell it openly, I haven't had a sip of Coca-Cola in the last 15 years. And the other assignment we start with, those do London labs, is to tell them that they have to keep without technology, communication technology, for a week, and then they'll go, okay? And then I tell them, okay, reduce it to a weekend. Most of them cannot go through that. And I will tell you some of the funniest answers, because then they have to write by hand and tell me what the experience was like. And one of the girls actually wrote that she had to drink 2 glasses of wine because she couldn't sleep without the television on. I mean, and I get a lot of interesting responses. So that's what I do. It's hard. They're very interested, but it's very difficult. One of the other things sometimes I've done is taken their cell phones before the class and kept them. Some of them don't remember to turn them off, so they beep throughout the class. And I will give it back to them so they will know how much messages they get, like every 20 seconds. So these are some ways, but it gets tiring because the curriculum doesn't require that, you know.
Then what does it teach?
Well, you know what? A lot of my students said when I gave them that assignment, they came up with a lot of their own ways within their friends. You know, when they're together, they will not, or that they will keep an hour of the day when they won't use it, and then go for a walk instead. So I mean, I can only do that much. Maybe someday I will start something else, but for now, that's the start.
Thank you, Charu, very much. If someone else has questions, please keep it for later. And now I would like to introduce you our last but not least speaker, Dr. Zsuzsanna Kacso, who she is a peace building and violence prevention practitioner and consultant working with the Peace Action Training and Research Institute in Kurkova, Romania. And today she will talk about systematic peace building. Welcome.
Okay. So let's see. You can hear me. Okay. Hello. So my name is Zsuzsanna. I'm from Romania, from the Romanian Peace Institute, and for the last 10 years I have been working in different conflict zones together with my team. And we work on systemic peace building. And what I'm going to present today is what exactly systemic peace building is. And you're going to find that a lot of things that we do in conflict zones is reflected by what was already discussed here. Good. Okay. So, systemic peace building. Systemic peace building basically means that you're taking conflict to psychologists. You're going to take a conflict and you're going to look at the root causes. And then, together with the people who are in conflict, you are going to start to prepare some strategies to transform conflict. For that, we have to understand that conflict, whether they are personal, whether they are in a community, they are not created in a vacuum. They are created by a system of factors, and these can be positive and negative factors. These factors are very much interrelated, and depending whether you are acting on the positive or the negative factors, you can transform a conflict into an opportunity for development, or you can go escalate it and go into violence. Now, in order to see how from personal level it can go to community level, we have to see what is really a conflict, what it is made up of. And for that, we have to understand that at the level of all interactions, there are human beings. And human beings have needs. Now, most of the time, human beings with these needs are unconscious of the needs. What they're conscious of are the interests that are formed based on the needs, and then on the positions that we show in the community regarding those interests. Just to make a differentiation between what is interest, needs, and position. Interests are what we think we want in life. Needs are why we want certain things, and positions are the manifestations, physical manifestations of our interests. And most of the time, these positions can be really violent. It can be violent towards ourselves, it can be violent towards the community. Why does it happen? Because, as I said, needs mostly are at the subconscious level. We don't really think what our needs are. We usually think about what our interests are. So in our pursuit of our interests, we are going to get contradictory with our needs. And that collision of needs and interests is going to create internal conflict. And if we don't know how to solve them, it's going to create violence. So, this is a very good, the ABC triangle is a very good analysis tool that we use. As I told you, we take the conflict to a psychologist. When needs and interests collide, they're going to create some contradictions. Now, contradictions are the basis of all conflict. It is what the conflict is about, the issues on which we collide. And based on contradictions, we're going to have some attitudes. The attitudes can, most of the time, are quite contradictory. It can be, for example, in a conflict situation, I can be passive-aggressive, I can withdraw, I can be more engaged. It depends on how we work with our conflict. And based on our attitudes, we are going to have some conflict behaviors. I imagine that when I say conflict behaviors, you're going to think of negative behaviors, but In conflict, we can also have positive behaviors, and here we saw in civil courage some very positive behaviors in a situation where something wasn't wrong. Right? Sorry. Okay. Now, violence. How does violence come into play in a conflict? First of all, I want to stress that violence does not equal conflict in any way. Violence is a conflict behavior. It's the most extreme conflict behavior. And that can appear in many instances and because of many reasons. But I have put forward three very important ones that I would like people to remember. We use violence in a conflict situation when we feel that we have exhausted absolutely all other alternatives to reach our goals, to reach our needs. Then also, we might be from a community, from a society where we are not really taught other alternatives to reach our needs. And that happens in many war zones, where war has been going on for several years, and there are generations that have been brought up only in a violent environment. And one more time that we can use violence is sometimes it proves more beneficial from an image, from economic, from power, political power, etc. point of view to use violence, and then people are going to use it. But please remember that people are not born as violent individuals. Violent behavior is something that we are taught. And as something that we are taught, it needs a framework that can sustain it, and an environment that can legitimize it. Otherwise, it will fall out of place and it won't exist. So direct violence. This is another tool that we use in analysis to understand what is going on. So the direct violence is the behavior that I was telling you about. Direct violence can be physical. When I hit somebody, I kill someone. But it can be verbal abuse, or psychological abuse. Now, this is the direct action that we see. This, in order to stand up, because we are not born as violent people, we need a framework. This is structural violence. Structural violence refers, for example, for a system, my family system, the society, the community, a state system, that makes it okay to use violence. It can be in our institutions. Maybe you work in an organization which prefers working more with men than with women. That is already a violent structure. It can be in our policy. It can be in our laws. For example, I can give you an example of the Malaysian constitution, where the Aboriginal Malay people, who are called Putra, in the constitution have more rights than the other ethnicities in the country. So it is stipulated in the main law of the country that they have more benefits in the state than others. That is also part of the structural violence. So this is the framework that upholds the possibility of us being violent with ourselves, with others. But the most important part is the culture. Cultural violence is the most entrenched form of violence that exists, and cultural violence makes it okay for each and every one of us to use violence in the community. And cultural violence is in our sayings, it's in our art, it's in our movies, as you just said. I mean, I have a couple of colleagues here from Romania, and for example, we have a saying in Romanian, bătaia stă din rai, which means that beating is a part of heaven. So if a parent is going to beat a child, that's absolutely normal, because that is the saying that was passed down to generations. So cultural violence is the ultimate legitimation of use of violence in a society. And if we are to work in transforming conflict, cultural violence is the first thing and the lengthiest thing that we have to transform. So very, very shortly, when we choose a conflict behavior, whether there's transformation or whether there's violence, and between the two of them, there's a wide array of different actions. We have to remember that our behavior is conditioned by the inner contradictions that we have between our needs and interests. But those are embedded in structures and cultures. And based on all of this, we're going to have attitudes and then behaviors that we have to learn how to control. And mindfulness is one of the best ways to control that. So this is not the individual. We all have these, whether we're conscious or not of this. How does this go to the community level? Now, conflict has 4 dimensions. It has the individual that I just presented, But then we have the relational, the conflict between the parties. We have structural and cultural. I just spoke a bit about that. And this is the community. These are individuals interlinked in everyday life. And this is every individual. So it's not just us. We have to realize it's a community. If we have internal struggles, others have internal struggles as well. And when we put forward our positions on our interests, there is a big possibility that we're going to confront with other positions because other people have the same struggles as we. And they are going to struggle in order to have certain results. Now, in the most violent situation, when we really don't know each other, we don't know our needs, and we really want to get our way, we might lose everything, so nobody gains. Somebody might gain something. But I believe that if we employ consciousness, meditation, and different tools that we also use in our work, we can get to transforming conflicts into real opportunities of development. And that would mean that solutions can be 100% for everybody because it reduces creativity in our approach. I'm going to go back to this tool that we use, the triangle, and look a bit at what are solutions in the case of a conflict. So if we have contradictions and we work with ourselves to understand where our contradictions come from, we can use creativity to unlock that situation. If we have attitudes that are very confrontational, we can use empathy towards ourselves and towards the others and try to understand what is going on. And then always choose nonviolence for the behavior. And this is very easy to use at the personal level. What we use in society, because as I told you, we work in conflict zones, meaning that these are areas in which there is potential of violent conflict, already war has taken place. We also have to work in strategy, because in a community it's not just so simple of working with, okay, these are the individuals, let's see what we can do. We have to strategize as well. And the first step of strategy is always to understand what is going on, and that is the analysis. And in analysis, you have to look at who in the community are involved in the conflict, what is the relationship between them, what are the interests, the needs, the goals of every individual, and in these relationships, how are these needs, interests colliding? Okay, then, once we understand the situation, we have to define what is the change that we want to achieve in our strategy in order to get more peaceful. It's not enough to say that I would like to change, to transform the conflict. As I told you, conflict is an interrelated thing. A conflict is made up of smaller conflicts. We have to choose the best strategy that is related to our capacities to act. And defining, first of all, what is the vision? What is the vision? What is the change? Then we can go to step 3 and design the best strategy that is customized for the exact needs of the community. From there, we can go to action. And I believe that in the past 3 days, everybody has presented personal experiences that are already part of the action. You already took action to change something, and that's wonderful. And from action, in a community where there's violence, we always have to have a monitoring and evaluation process. Because conflict situations, and I think if you have ever had conflict situations in your family, you know that they can change very fast. So in a community it's even worse. Now everything is good, in 2 seconds something goes bad. So your strategy in order to achieve change will have to be monitored and evaluated all the time to make sure that if something goes wrong, then you can change the strategy and rethink it. And also you have to have coherence. This is linked very much with step 5, and you have to have a capacity building process. Capacity building process means that each and every one of us will have to continuously build capacity in order to act in the best way in conflict. And these are just some skills and needs that the capacity building needs that we recommend in case of conflict situations. There are skills, tools, and methods in order to understand what is going on. There are values, knowledge, and understanding. This goes on the creativity side. So if there are values that don't work, be creative about it, see what is possible. Knowledge, understanding of the others, but also build the structure, the system that support us, transform that, because that is that underpins violence. And that we have the different engagement strategies, build institutional capacities, and find solutions. Thank you.
much for your great speech, and I was actually listening for you very carefully, and I wanted to ask you about actually who, for example, in conflict when there is a minority and, for example, state, who should be main actor to solve, to find a solution for the problem?
Okay, I think I understood your question, so I'm going to try to answer. In a conflict, there is no main actor. There are a lot of actors, and there's never two actors, there are a multitude of actors. And what we say in conflict, I think because I'm also working as an international and other conflict zones, is that solutions come from within. So conflict actors are quite difficult to put at a table to discuss. You have to have a lot of confidence building measures, etc. But you have to find the best roles for each actor from which to work and to find solutions. Now, another question here is the environment level of the actors to act. I believe there was earlier a question about what happens with those people that stay in a bus and turn their head. That's absolutely a natural reaction, because most of us don't feel empowered to do anything. We weren't taught to do that. We don't feel that we have the power. So a very important part is to empower people through different methods that they can make a change, and then you can engage them in solution finding and implementation.
One more.
Hi, thank you very much. It's really pity that we have so less time because today was what I heard is so many good things which I can use, at least I think most of us can use in our practical field. Are these tools that you are available? Because your presentation, yours, everyone, I heard many things that we can use, but the time is so short that you can either listen or think about questions. And I'm now coming up with questions of thousands, and I think that are these things going to be available for us to use as well, or because I cannot put you all in a book or the guest speakers, I wish I could, but it's really usable stuff. So
do you want to, I'm talking about presentations?
Yeah, presentations, because there's lots of stuff there, also from yesterday and today, which you can really use in working with youth. For example, the media sections you talked about, so I can resonate with that as well. The civic those videos as well. So yeah, there are things there which are really useful. Are they going to be available somewhere?
Yes, we can share everything by email. After you.
I would like to challenge you to tell us a story about your conflict managing. How can you share a complete story in people in general? Learn a lot from theory, but much more, maybe they are inspired by conflict stories, and I think you have a lot of experience to tell us. Just children, please.
Okay, I'll have time. First of all, this kind of work, because in communities, before I reply to Charu, so because most of the problems in the communities are so old that it takes a lot of time to solve them. So work has to be long and sustained in order to get results, and results are gaps in like several years. Now, my personal story, I have to select, I never thought about this. If it's alright, I can use another example of a project that the colleagues have worked. For 3 years, we had a project in Crimea, a dialogue project, an early warning project, which used dialogue, for example, in the case of education, how you can bring multilingual education as a peace-building tool in schools. In the beginning, having whoever is from Ukraine or from that zone knows that multilingual education is very bizarre to people because they don't really accept it. But after 3 years of constant engagement, not only with local people, but schools and also government, local governments, and the national one, now there are already schools that test the possibility of having multilingual education, and teachers are looking into the possibility of extending it. And also the ministry has taken up this possibility of seeing how to take it forward. So if you gather a critical mass of people who are empowered, who feel that they can do something at the grassroots level, but then also you involve donors and you involve people at the higher decision-making level, you can achieve change.
Do you have more questions?
Thank you. It's an open question. So there is this saying, fake it till you make it, and the new version, fake it till you become it. So while taking leadership roles, perhaps some of you sitting here have the experience being afraid of being overconfident or arrogant, especially in the eyes of others. So I would like to ask you if any of you have any experience, either from someone you have followed or from your own experiences of how not to cross this line or where it is and but still convey your message.
Thank you very much for your question. I resonate. I felt the calling when you asked the question. There's a woman called Marianne Williamson, and she says that it is not our darkness that is here, but our light. So my question to you is, when you are embracing your full power, is it important what other people believe, or is it important for you to be loyal to what you think that you want to do? There is no answer that I can give for you, because you know much better than I do what works for you, and how you can inspire other people, and who you need to be in that very situation to be the inspiration that you are seeking maybe from others. Does that answer your question?
So, from my experience, again, from comfort zone, I don't think that you can really, you need a part of improvising, but you also have to go by certain rules in order not to make the situation worse. So it depends, I think, the context you are. It depends also on the context you are, how you're going to go by rules or going to improvise things. You have to feel the situation, and here I agree with Anca that once you get there and you get a bit of experience, then you're already going to feel it and you're going to give the best you can for the moment at least.
I think both of them have said something very beautiful, and I think the question is still to you, because none of this here talked about conflict situations, which are very different. You cannot apply the same rules in this kind of situation as if you want to start an NGO. And I think you have to look at your resources, you have to look at the situation, where you are, you need to develop knowledge, and of course, believe and meditate, meditate, meditate. Yes?
This is a technical question. I'm working with youth now. I suppose you can answer, maybe someone else can pitch in. I'm working with recently with youth, Muslim youth, and the problem I have is that lots of guys, young guys especially, who don't know the purpose of their life, are most attracted to Daesh. Daesh is ISIS. Because it gives them some sense of belonging, and they pray a lot, and I see they're moving to fanatics. Either it's Daesh or the other group are following the Western movement, I call it, where they think they're God. They put the whole racism, the whole things, like so whole African, another sect being followed. So you see certain kind of movements that people are following, becoming more religious or sect because they're losing their purpose. This is a big reason media is playing a big role in it. So how can you explain the difference between the religious prayers and meditation? Because sometimes they are, yeah, it's the same, because we are praying to God and it gives us that sense. So, because I don't know, I didn't know meditation, but I think it's perfect would be. But how to address that?
Yeah, okay, first about ISIS. I don't think it's about religious fundamentalism. I really think it's about, I was telling one of them in the crew that if you think of the only state in the world that has 80 citizenship and 10 languages and average leadership of 30 years without no visa restrictions, it's only the Islamic State. And it's the only state that provides young people with representation and leadership. So that's something we have to look at, we as young people, what are we providing for our fellow peers? Are we creating jobs for them? Are we empowering them? And so on. Back to your question, when I started meditating, I wanted to do a FICO, which is Peace In, Peace Out event in Tunisia, and it was right after the revolution, so things are unstable. And at the time, the Islamist Party won the elections. And the way I approach people to, start introducing meditation, and I was talking on the radio, is that actually meditation helped me in my prayers. So meditation is actually helping you to concentrate more, to focus more, and to be in the present. And honestly, we are 99% Muslims in Tunisia, but who does actually pray? If you look at statistics, people when they pray, and I go into details, we're Muslim and we have to, explain. And when people pray, it's a 5 minutes, we pray 5 times a day, and it takes 5 minutes. But people would pray 1 or 2 minutes because they're not mindful when they pray. And I take it from that point. I take it as meditation is a practice that actually can benefit your prayers. And of course, if you can go further into Sufism and so on, you can give examples of how that can help. So I think meditation absolutely can be explained in religion.
Do we have any more questions?
Thank you very much. I guess mine is a follow-up on the previous question about ego and leadership and all that, but with a slight twist. I think we all are leaders in a specific activity, but we're not the only leader in that. Like, there are many other projects. There are many projects on peace building. There are many bloggers. There are many all the things we represent here. So, what do you think is a good balance between, leadership and developing your own initiatives as well as connecting with other similar projects, like horizon mapping and understanding what actual specific role can we play? Because we're not, as much as we're leaders, and leadership comes with not unique, but like a different drive maybe to change things. There are many other people that are working exactly on the same thing. So how would you see meditation and that type of consciousness playing a role in mitigating between ego and being aware of all the other similar projects that we have around us and how to connect with them? Thank you.
Thank you for that question. When you were talking, the first thing that came to my mind was, I don't know how many of you are aware of this concept that is both in English and Buddhism called Indra's net. Okay, so the whole world is like a net, and every node is an intersection of consciousness level, but it's like a diamond, but that is affecting all of the diamonds. And what happens in meditation, and I'm not an expert, so please pardon me, I speak from more reading than practicing. I do meditate, but I think, I'm a little skeptical about my advisors all up there right now. But when we meditate, we learn to, like somebody said, not to respond and react, to know the difference. We remove layers of ignorance, where we know that, okay, this is us, this is my consciousness, and it doesn't necessarily have to interact in this space, but that is where I need to speak. I think those things become clearer as you meditate. So there is that connection. But also to understand that we are just a strand in the whole web. And we are a support, like there's a scaffolding, we are like one little strand. And that's how we meditate. I find that it's because that in academia, you express yourself in publications and all of that, and it's a hard balance between teaching, which I love, which is not really appreciated, and having your name printed out there. It's a very hard balance, right? And only recently I've just acknowledged, okay, there are some strengths that I have, and some things I'm interested in, and I need to bring out that balance, and I have to stop thinking, how others are looking at it. I think that's very, very important, and meditation has helped a lot in that. I don't know if that answers your question.
You have to have good branding with like a specific authority, otherwise, like, your messages really go that far, but at the same time you are competing, like, you're selling your product, like you're hoping to sell it better, but someone else is doing the same thing, otherwise your organization or whatever might not have the same brand that no one else will get.
Okay, I'll talk from experience of someone who meditates for 5 years. When I joined Peace Revolution the first time, I went to Thailand for the training for 2 weeks. And I was explaining I was in a period of the revolution, So to tell me that, and I was a blogger, so to tell me that you need to give up all technology, you can have Wi-Fi, you just cannot live on an island, you cannot contact your family or any of the news, you can't see anything. And to me, to take that decision was a commitment because all my life was the revolution and I can't be disconnected. But I think what was rewarding to me and going from 30 minutes average meditation in the online program to meditating 4 hours a day was like a total growth. My reward from that retreat really was, which it's impacted my life, is that it gave me a clarity of vision. After the two weeks of the retreat, I was doing a journal, and everything I wrote in that retreat, I see it unfolding this year and last year. So after 5 years, I can now say, yes, it's a powerful tool, which I didn't realize in the first year or second year. But literally every vision I had and everything I wrote, and I said, how I can imagine, I work now as a Pan-Africanist, and I work a lot with young people, young Africans on development. And all my dreams were, how can we reimagine African development and so on. And now I influence policy making in Africa, I speak at the African Union and the United Nations, I'm influential. So everything I dreamt about and my vision, what is it, who am I, and how to do it, unfolded in that retreat. Just because I'm disconnected, just because I'm committed, just because I give it the time, the energy and the mindfulness that it needs. So I tell it from experience. So.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for all the details, for sharing all your stories, and thank you for all the questions. I think we have learned a lot, and we will take a lot from this session. At least I will take a lot. I was listening to all of your speeches, and I kind of came up with one short summary, which I believe would summarize very well what all of you were talking about. So you said that we can choose who we want to be, how we want to act, and if we want to allow ourselves to be influenced by regimes, others, media, messages, or simply be influenced by ourselves, by not allowing ourselves to listen to our needs and feelings, or if we allow ourselves actually to listen to ourselves and to act according to what we feel and what we feel is good for us and for our community. Thank you very much for being here with us today, and I am sure that this is not the last time. Then we all are connected somehow. I hope that we will still be connected in the future, as we all have the same goal in the end. And as always, I have a few announcements to make. So I was asked by the reception to tell you that the check-out time tomorrow is 10 o'clock in the morning. Yeah.